Hello and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that tried to warn General Lee not to assault the Union Center at Gettysburg. My name is Cody. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to take a look at a game called Legendary Civil War from Upper Deck. What's that? It's not that Civil War. I do not care. I do not care, sir. I will do this review as though it were that Civil War. You do not come down here and tell me not to do... I'll do whatever I want. I will secede from this show. In Legendary Civil War from Upper Deck, 1 to 5 players take on the role of Captain America and his faction of superheroes who refuse to go along with the Superhero Registration Act. So they essentially fight the other superheroes who have decided to go along with the Superhero Registration Act. I believe there was a film version of this conflict that came out not too long ago.
Join the Superhero Registration Act. Never! Don't do drugs.
Now, this is essentially an expansion to your Legendary game, and I'm not going to go through every card here and tell you about everything that you will find in this game, but I will tell you about some of the highlights, some of the new keywords, some of the other fun and kooky things that make this game worth looking at. Now, one thing that I always look forward to with the new Legendary set is new scheme cards, and this game has some delightful new scheme cards. For instance, you have the Epic Superhero Civil War. Now, in this one, you stack the twist next to the scheme. Now, each time that the twist comes out and goes into a stack, you actually KO a hero from the HQ and immediately refill that space. But you do that for every single hero that was knocked out. You go ahead, and that way you're going to run through the deck of heroes faster and faster and faster. When the deck of heroes runs out, it's not a standstill. Oh, no. Evil wins the game. Next, you have the Reveal Heroes' Secret Identities. Now, this one's fun. When the twist comes up, you put a hero from the HQ next to the scheme, and it's unmasked. All the cards with unmasked heroes cost an additional +1 to recruit. That's not easy. Now, as soon as 5 heroes are unmasked, evil wins. You also have the Predict Future Crime, where you reveal 3 cards from the villain deck. Now, when there are 2 villains per player in the escape pile, you guessed it, the villains win. Now, there's also the Avengers versus the X-Men. Now, when this happens, the twist comes up, you've got to reveal your hand, and if you have any 2 of the teams that are opposing one another, you draw a wound. You do that through twist 1 through 7. When the 8th wound comes up, you guessed it, the Yankees, evil wins. Now, one of the most unusual and striking things you'll notice with the Civil War theme, in keeping with the duality of the game, is that some cards now introduce kind of divided cards. You have 2 cards instead of just 1 card printed on the same card. I know, right? What will they think of next? Essentially, you can pick which side of the card you want to use. Sometimes one side's pretty good in attack, the other side's pretty good in recruit, but there can be a whole host of other abilities that pop up. You can also use the icons, either icon when it's in your hand, but you got to pick one when you play the card. Now, you also have a thing in this one called size changing. Essentially, if you're able to meet the criteria, you can make that particular card, if it's a hero, cost less of recruit points. You can also make villains cost less in attack points to take out. You have a phasing ability, which allows you to essentially swap a card in your hand with the top card of your deck, and that can come in mighty handy. You also have something called Fortify. Now, Fortify will fortify specific spaces on the board or decks of cards, and depending on what the specified ability is for that fortification, different things will happen. Why there's one of the schemes where the various locations along the city track can be fortified, making villains harder to kill. You get the drift. There's another one where you can fortify your deck, which means you only get to draw 5 cards instead of the usual 6, and other hubbity-gubbity stuff like that. You've got Bribe in this game, which you'll remember from the first expansion, Dark City. In Bribe, you can use both Recruit and Attack to take down villains. You also have the special sidekicks, the Pet Avengers. I believe we first saw sidekicks in Secret Wars. I don't recall which volume. But essentially, these are cards that you can buy at any time. When they come up in your hand, you can just play them once and they're out of the game. But they're nice when they're handy when they're first used. You also have grievous wounds. Now, these are just like wounds, except they're grievous. And what happens here is there can be very, very nasty effects that come into play when these wounds come up in your hand. Now, as far as the masterminds that you're going up against, you got Ragnarok. He's like a robot Thor. You got Misty Knight, who looks very mean and powerful with all the attack you got to get. But remember, she can be bribed, so you can use Recruit when you go after her. You've got Baron Zemos here. You have also got some kooky authoritarian Iron Man. Now, authoritarian Iron Man, he's just mean. He claims to be a good guy, but he wants you to register with that superhero act, and that just won't stand it. He's got some funky things also that will come up when you fight him. You also have Maria Hill, who is the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. now, and she is got some gumption on her. You've got a lot of great superheroes in this game. Of course, you've got Captain America, who's leading the fight against that Superhero Registration Act. You've got Cloak and Dagger. You've got the Wiccan. You've got Falcon. You've got the Patriot. You've got all sorts of kooky guys, and virtually all of these decks have a divided card. So pretty much any hero you play with, you're going to get that come up in your hand, and you get to choose which side you want to play. So that's just a basic overview of what you get in this game. As I say, I don't want to get into every card. I find that rather tedious. I will say this, however. Every time I review a legendary expansion, I'm always tempted to say this is probably my favorite legendary expansion. So about this game, I would like to say this is probably my favorite legendary expansion. I really like the combinations that come up here. I think the divided cards, there's nothing divided about my enthusiasm for them. They are magnificent. They make me want to stand up and cheer, shout the battle cry, freedom. I love these cards. They do a good justice to the game. They really mix things up, give you more options when you need them. Although I must admit, there are times when you want to use both sides of the divided cards, and you can only use just one, my friends. Just one. On the whole, I really like some of the keywords. Fortify is good because it's versatile. You never know exactly how Fortify is going to work, what it's going to do to a specific deck or location, character. I really like Fortify. Now, I really like the new schemes as well, as I said. I think in these legendary expansions, they're some of my favorite things. I really like it when they kind of alter and change the game around. For me, that's awful fun. That's a big appeal for any expansion. This game has some fun scheme cards as well. All told, really, really, really enjoy it. Sidekicks are fun. I always liked Bribe. That was my favorite innovation in Dark City over the original, and it's good to see it in use here in this game. Really a lot of fun. I really, 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 really do like Legendary Civil War. So the recommendation for the discriminating gamer for this expansion to Legendary is you're going to want to buy it, along with some biscuits and gravy. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer, and I must confess, I really wish they had named it Legendary: The War Between the States.
Don't do drugs.